Picture this. You're drifting right now in that cold green water off the southern coast of Australia. Below you, patches of sand, and on the sand, clump after clump of seagrass and great big sheets of kelp, swaying slowly, tipping slowly with the current. Your eyes settle on one of those clumps of seagrass. It just sits there as if it's been sitting there for a very, very long time, not a single leaf drifting away. And then, after a moment, you notice something's off. In that clump of seagrass, there's one leaf, and it has an eye. And that eye, without moving a muscle, is watching you. That's not seagrass, that's a fish. And how good is its disguise? A big, hungry fish swims right past and doesn't recognize it as dinner. The little shrimp it wants to eat don't recognize it as a hunter. In its patch of sea, the things that would eat it and the things it eats, every single one of them is fooled. Everyone believes it's just one drifting piece of seagrass. Today, we're going to get to know this master of disguise of the sea. But I have to be honest with you first, it is also, in my book, the single worst swimmer in the whole ocean. Yes, you heard me right. Let's start with that funny little fact. All right, everybody, welcome to the Worst Swimmer in the Ocean Awards. I'm your host for tonight, Dr. Gray Parrot, and the competitor stepping up right now is that seagrass fish we were just talking about. Let me read out its measurements. Don't let the word dragon in its name fool you. It isn't big at all. The ones we usually run into are around 20 centimeters, and even the very largest top out at 35 centimeters, just a touch longer than that 30-centimeter ruler in your pencil case. Now, let's talk about how its swimming actually stacks up. The judge's record reads like this. Scientists once quietly tracked 9 of these fish with ultrasound, and they found that when it moves in 1 whole hour, it advances at most 17 meters. How far is 17 meters? About the length of a city bus plus a little. In other words, the stretch you'd stroll in 1 easy minute might take this fish hours of slow swimming to catch up to. And that's when it's actually moving. Most of the time, it just parks there and spaces out. Scientists recorded it holding almost perfectly still for nearly 3 days straight.
All your host can say is, propulsion, 0. Paddling, no paddling detected. Will to survive, also looks like a 0. Competitor, are you here to swim or are you here to zone out? But it's right here that today's first big surprise is hiding. Let me ask you a question. Take a guess first. All those leaf-like things sticking out all over its body, what do you think they're actually for? Most people's first reaction is, well, those have got to be its fins, right? For swimming, for paddling? And this is exactly where everyone slips up. Let me tell you, those leaves, not a single one of them is a fin. They play no part in swimming, not for 1 instant. So what's the truth? The truth is, those leaves grow straight out of its skin. They're a whole costume of camouflage worn on the body, and their one and only job is to drift along with the current and turn it into a clump of seagrass and fool your eyes. It'll even slowly tune the color of its body to match the seagrass in its own neighborhood, greens, yellows, browns. But let me be clear, this color change is a slow business. It's nothing like those animals that flip color in a single instant. It takes its time, working with its own age, its diet, and where it lives, slowly turning itself into whichever color blends into the background best. So, if the leaves don't paddle, what on earth is it moving with? This answer is beautifully well hidden. On the 2 sides of its neck, there's a pair of thin, almost completely transparent little fins, and on its back, 1 more fin, just as transparent. And it's these few fins, the ones you'd barely even notice, waving gently, rocking gently, that slowly push it along. Just picture how strange that is. A clump of seagrass drifting slowly past with a little motor hanging off it that you can't detect at all. No wonder it still looks like seagrass when it's on the move, because the engine that's actually doing the work was invisible from the start.
It even swims like it's drifting. All right, at this point, you might be wondering, how did this fish end up turning itself into this? And this is the part I find most brilliant and honestly most admirable. This fish's whole life, rather than say it gained a lot of things, it'd be truer to say it gave up a whole pile of things, and that's how it became what it is today. It gave up its teeth. There is not one single tooth in its mouth. Scientists laid its genes out to study them and found that even the few genes for growing teeth are already gone. It gave up its stomach. Yes, it doesn't even have a real stomach. The outside of its body is wrapped in ring after ring of hard, bony plate, like a suit of armor, and the price of that is a body that can barely bend at all. Even the gills it breathes with are different from other fish. Other fish have gill openings shaped like crescent moon slits. This one has only small, round little holes with tufts of gills hanging underneath. And its tail, unlike its cousin the seahorse, can't curl up and grab hold of things. Its tail can't grip anything at all. Think about it. Teeth, a stomach, a body that bends, a tail that grips, all abilities most fish just have, and it let them go, one by one by one. It subtracted itself all the way down until all that was left was a single, drifting leaf. Now, you might start to worry, if it keeps subtracting and subtracting, won't it one day just subtract itself out of existence? Ah, here's a wonderful clue. Scientists read that whole thick genetic instruction manual cover to cover, not just this one's, but also that of its look-alike cousin, the weedy sea dragon. And in the weedy sea dragon, they found over 400 especially hard-working genes with one and only job, to build those leaf-like flaps. So what about our leafy sea dragon itself? Exactly which genes grow its leaves is a puzzle scientists are still working out, one of the real frontiers. But one thing is certain, even as it does all this subtraction, switching off the genes for growing teeth and for growing that pair of fins down under the belly, one by one, every bit of the energy it saves gets poured into growing itself into a more convincing, more lifelike clump of seagrass. So what did it get in exchange? It got the finest invisibility in the whole world. And there's a very shrewd piece of accounting tucked inside here. All those flowing leaves really do make it swim slower and cost it more effort. But turn it around and think about it. When you're hidden this well, hidden so well that nobody can recognize you at all, then you barely even need to run away anymore. If you're never going to be spotted, then what would you flee for?
So it simply gave up the option of fleeing too, and traded it for a life that's incredibly low effort, slowly drifting. In fact, way back over 100 years ago, in 1865, an English scientist first wrote it formally into the record and handed it a rather dashing name while he was at it. Tucked right inside its scientific name is the word for knight. And I think that name is just perfect. It really is like a knight, dressed in armor made of leaves. Only this knight never fights a single battle its entire life. Its only duty is to quietly keep itself hidden. Though, don't assume it's helpless just because it doesn't fight. Along both of its flanks, it actually does hide a few long, sharp spines. And if some fish gets a little too curious and drifts a little too close, those spines are its very last line of defense. But don't you go believing it can only space out either. This champion of doing nothing is secretly hiding one frighteningly fast trick up its sleeve. You remember that long, straw-like mouth of its? Normally, it just holds that tube out in front and drifts along. But the instant a little shrimp accidentally drifts in front of it, it snaps its head up, whips that tube of a mouth whoosh right up to the shrimp, and with one hard suck, that shrimp is gone, straight down the hatch. How fast is that move? Scientists measured it in a relative of its. That head snap and suck takes about 5 milliseconds. That's roughly a few dozen times shorter than a single blink of your eye. Something that was spacing out 1 second becomes the fastest sniper in the room the next. Isn't that something?
Its favorite food is a little shrimp called a mysid. And that seagrass bed it lives in is one of the busiest nurseries in the entire ocean. In among the seagrass blades, packed tight, are these little shrimp and little bugs and loads of newly hatched baby fish. For it, home is also a dinner table that never ever runs out. And because it has no stomach, whatever it eats passes straight through its body fast, so it has to spend nearly the whole day long endlessly eating, endlessly sucking up these little shrimp just to keep itself full. And to eat while also keeping a lookout so it isn't eaten, it's trained up a special skill. Its two eyes can each turn on their own, looking in completely different directions. One eye stays locked on the shrimp up front, the other keeps watch off to the side. A fish that barely swims relies on this pair of eyes, the ones that can go on separate shifts, as its radar. All right, and now the most mind-bending thing of the whole day. We're going to play a guessing game again, and this time the question is this. In this fish's family, the one whose job it is to be pregnant, to carry the babies on its body, take a guess. Is it the mom or the dad? The answer is the dad. It's this dad who carries the eggs on his body. Every year, when the southern hemisphere's spring and summer come around and the breeding season begins, there's first a very quiet, very tender scene. Two leafy sea dragons, shoulder to shoulder, swimming slowly, slowly together. That right there is them courting, like dancing the slowest dance in the whole world. And as they dance, the mom lays her eggs, one by one, onto the underside of the dad's tail. Notice, not the belly, the underside of the tail. At this time, the dad's tail grows a special sponge-like tissue on its underside, and it's covered with over 100 tiny little cups, each cup just the right size to hold one egg. The moment an egg touches the dad, it's fertilized right then and there, and settles firmly into one of those little cups. And here's the part that's even warmer. The dad also grows a great many fine little blood vessels through that tissue, pressed right up against the eggs, slowly feeding them oxygen and nutrients.
Now I know, you might be thinking of seahorses. Seahorse dads carry eggs on their bodies too, don't they? But here, it's very different. The seahorse dad tucks his eggs away inside a sealed pouch. Our leaf dad has no such pouch at all. He hangs 200 and something, nearly 300 bright pink eggs completely out in the open under his tail to brood. No lid, nothing. He just carries them like that, drifting along while cradling 200 or 300 children right there in full view of the whole ocean, hiding absolutely nothing. So, how long does he have to carry them? Now, you may have heard that a seahorse dad gives birth to his baby seahorses in about 2 or 3 weeks. Oh wait, hang on, let me quickly warn you before I get you remembering it wrong. This leaf dad is not a seahorse, and his timeline is much, much longer. Warmer water speeds it up a bit, cooler water slows it down. But he has to keep this whole string of eggs pressed against his body and brood them for a full 4 to 9 weeks. So here's the truth. Don't go slapping the seahorses 2 or 3 weeks onto this leaf dad. The time he spends carrying his eggs is several times a seahorse's. And when the moment finally arrives, keepers in aquariums have observed something especially sweet. The dad gently shakes his tail, helping each little baby slip out of its egg cup, one at a time. Though, to be honest, this particular scene has mostly only been seen inside aquariums. Of course, nature has its strict side too. Even though 200 or 300 eggs are hanging under the dad's tail, based on what's been observed in aquariums, only about a dozen or so in the end actually make it to adulthood. And I want to stress this, that's just a rough estimate, not some exact figure. The rest of those little ones, some of them didn't manage to grow up.
And the little ones that did hold on, the instant they hatch, each one is a tiny, complete little version of a leafy sea dragon, only about 2 centimeters, shorter than your little finger. And here's the most remarkable thing. From the moment they're born, they are completely independent. No mom or dad to look after them, no one to teach them a thing. They just drift off into the seagrass on their own and start living the very same floating, hidden life their parents lived. And they grow fast. In about a year, they go from 2 centimeters all the way to 20. Give it another year or two, and they're fully grown, ready to be dads and moms themselves. A leafy sea dragon, if it's lucky enough, can drift on like this for 5 to 10 years. Speaking of home, there's one more thing about this fish that especially moves me. It is one serious homebody. Scientists found that even when the current carries it hundreds of meters away, it still has a way of slowly, precisely finding its way back to that exact same spot it started from. Across its entire life, the area it moves around in is, at most, about 5 hectares. You can picture that as a little patch of seagrass bed about the size of 7 soccer fields, and that patch is its entire world. It isn't greedy. It doesn't roam far, it just keeps watch over this one small patch of home. And let me tell you, this night keeps watch over only one small stretch of coast in southern Australia. Anywhere else on the whole planet, you won't find a single one. Oh, and in that same sea, it does have a close relative that also looks a bit like seagrass. But when it comes to how extravagant, how downright showy the leaves are, no one can beat today's star of the show. In its own branch of the family, it's a one-of-a-kind species. But, did you catch it? Behind all this homebody devotion, there's a rather worrying problem hiding. It has bet its entire life on seagrass. Seagrass is its home, its food, its camouflage, it's everything to it. But seagrass is slowly, steadily retreating from the ocean. From over 100 years ago, 1879, when humans first started seriously keeping records, right up to now, the world's seagrass has already lost nearly 3/10 of itself. And even today, it's still shrinking. For a fish this attached to home, and this exquisitely sensitive to even the tiniest change in water quality, this turns into a very nasty trap. When your home slowly disappears, other animals might be able to just turn around and swim off somewhere else, but it can't. It's too attached and too fragile. It simply cannot flee a home that's vanishing. And it's precisely because it's this sensitive that trying to keep it in an aquarium is very, very hard. The depth of the water, the pressure of the water shift even a little, and it very easily can't hold on. So next time, if you ever get the chance to meet a living, breathing leafy sea dragon somewhere, know this: behind it are a great many people who poured an enormous amount of care into raising it. Back in its old home in southern Australia, people chose this fish to be the symbol of their local sea. Once upon a time, there were people who, wanting to scoop it up and put it in an aquarium to look at, went into the sea to catch it. But later, Australia passed laws very early on and protected it completely. In South Australia alone, over 30 years ago, it became illegal to just go catching it. And here's some good news. The leafy sea dragon's rate of having babies is actually not slow at all. As long as the seagrass beds are looked after well and the seawater's clean enough, its population can roughly double in a little over a year. So as long as we guard its home, this knight has a real shot at holding on. So far, its numbers are still fairly steady, but the research on it is still very, very thin. So we have to keep watching over it carefully and never let this drifting knight one day truly have no home to go to. All right, we've come all the way around, and now we're back at that Worst Swimmers in the Ocean Awards from the very beginning. Remember, at the start, I handed it swimming a whole pile of zeros. Propulsion, 0. Paddling, 0. But now, go back and think about it again. Is this fish really swimming this slowly, this unswimmingly, because it just can't?
No, it is doing it on purpose. It's precisely because it's slow like a piece of seagrass, still like a piece of seagrass, and swims, even when it swims, still like a piece of seagrass, that it manages to fool every single eye and hide itself without the slightest seam showing. It doesn't need to swim fast at all, because it long ago deleted the whole idea of getting spotted completely out of its life.
So this Worst Swimmer Award, I am now officially going to rename it. It is not the worst swimmer in the ocean. It is the whole ocean's most invisible champion, the one that looks the very least like it's swimming. And at this very moment, out in that cold green water off the southern coast of Australia, it's probably hanging beside some clump of seagrass again, not moving a muscle, using those two eyes of its, the ones that turn on their own, to quietly watch the whole world drift by right in front of it.
Next time, the lab investigates a mysterious little animal that's been misunderstood for the longest time. Everyone thinks its greatest talent is hiding, tucking itself away so you can never find it. But it's the opposite. It plants itself right out in the open just to be seen. What enormous secret is it hiding in plain sight? Want to find out? Hit like and subscribe so you won't miss it, and share it with your best friend. I'm Dr. Gray Parrot. Thanks for coming to the Animal Truth Lab. See you next time. Bye-bye.